a retired homicide detective. I've interviewed thousands of people, from serial killers to ministers. Welcome to the interview room. Happy Father's Day, everybody. From all around the world, wherever you are. So grateful to see you, to have you here as part of our family here at TIR. We're so appreciative of you.
I know I shouldn't be in love, but it's so hard.
Hopefully you can hear this song.
You haven't changed, you stayed the same. But if you did, I'd still love you anyway.
I'm not biased, but I'm wearing my Celtics hat.
I'd give you the world like I promised I would.
We'll wait a couple minutes to get more folks in here.
Even though you wouldn't do the same.
Wendy's in the house. Beantown.
Give you the world like I promised I would.
As a kid, I lived off of Dot Avenue and then in Southie.
Even though you wouldn't do the same.
When both of my parents are from Boston.
Had this conversation more than 10 times. After 9, I still wish you were mine. Haven't ate in 7 days, 'cause I've been up till 6 a.m. Wrote 5 songs of...
What a great day to have the breath of life, isn't it, everybody? What an amazing, amazing day. Hopefully you have had an absolutely amazing day with your families, and hopefully if you've had a chance to have your father with you, that you've reached out, and or if you don't have your father with you here, you're anticipating the day of that amazing reunion, such as myself. And my sweetheart Karen. Both of our dads have passed away, and so these sometimes we always have to remember. Sometimes these are the types of days that are bittersweet for those that don't have, but they're always in our hearts, and we always appreciate them. So, of course, thank you. If this is your very first time here, we'd ask that you just hit that subscribe button and pass this around to the world through your social media networks. And that's all we ask. And that you, if you have an opinion, you keep it classy, but all opinions are welcome. We just don't attack one another in our chat over here. We try to keep that a very comfortable place for folks to express their opinions without attacking the messenger, attack the message and or your ideas, but please be respectful to our mods, Mimi J2, Maui Girl, Teresa M, and Laura. We are so appreciative of each and every one of these women. And of course, we always give a shout out to Miss Sophia. We miss her dearly. And we're always hoping and praying for her good health, that she was struggling with some health issues. So tonight, I promised, we're gonna continue on the Madeline Soto case for a little bit here, because I just think this is such an important situation where we as a society get to see so much about how some of these individuals operate. And of course, I'm not going to use this guy's name too much, this evening, because this is a victim-centered show. So I'm going to focus on 13-year-old Madeline Soto. And wow, I don't know if you guys have had a chance to read the 698 pages that were released. It is very, very, very disturbing, yet not shocking from my perspective because of what I have experienced in my career. So tonight, I'm going to go over some of that from my point of view, and just kind of lay the foundation over the next couple of days here as we explore this together. There are 690 or 896 pages total, and of course, I'm going to approach it from a perspective of, one, I understand everything that's in this, and I understand probably the underlying reasons why it's in here. But what this is, I would submit to you, is what they call Brady discovery information. So there is a case that the U.S. Supreme Court has said for the defense that all information has to be turned over, and that's People versus Brady. And so this information that we have access to, 896 pages, even though they're going to seek the death penalty for this Mr. Stearns, even though they're going to seek the death penalty for him, I love this district attorney's office down in Orange and Osceola County in Florida, because, man, oh man, talk about the Sunshine Act, where you're able to get all the information. And I truly believe how I wish the Idaho legislators would catch a vision here. Remember in Texas where Audrey Cunningham, the 11-year-old little girl, was abducted and then eventually horribly found in that river? How the authorities just kept putting information out, and it did not compromise the investigation at all. And you'll notice even yesterday with the arrest of that, individual, that savage who killed, our girl in Maryland, how there is this idea that you hold back. But, when I put the hat out recently, that they had pulled the hat, of course, the sheriff wasn't happy, but it did not impact the investigation, and her killer is now in custody, thank goodness. And we talked about that yesterday. So, but tonight I want to focus on these 896 pages that were released in Madeline's case. And I hope you asked some great questions. I value your opinions out here. Knowledge, as Mary just says here, Mary Grace, knowledge is power. I totally agree with that 10,000%. And that, as we continue to grow and learn together in the true crime community, that there's more focus on the victims and not other, stuff, mishigosh, stuff that has no value, right? I mean, it's really easy to pick somebody apart and say things about this or whatever, but that's not what our channel is based on. Our channel is based on clear, concise, direct sustained evidence. I mean, that's what we seek here, and that's why the interview room is even on YouTube. And so that said, let's first of all get into what you guys are thinking tonight, and it's that matters. Muddy Paws, I love it. I love it. Yeah, like I said, both of my parents. My grandmother lived at 1410 Columbia Road in Southie, across from Carson Beach, just down the street from Castle Island. And when my father would when he fought in Vietnam, we would go live with my grandmother. I had one grandmother who lived off of Dot Avenue in Dorchester, and I went to, St. Mark's School off of Dot Avenue. I used to literally catch the red line, get off at Ashmont Station, and walk up the street to my school. And so a lot of my friends from Beantown, all my cousins, shout out to all my cousins. You're still there. We love you, and happy Father's Day to each and every one of you as well. Okay, so that said, let's move into what we've got going on here. And let me make this a little bit bigger. Give me an all clear that you guys can see this in the chat. Okay, so I don't make it too big. I don't want to make it too big, but I don't also want to make it too small for you. Okay, so let me move that over. Okay, can everybody see that? Okay. It looks like we're good here. So this is obviously exculpatory evidence reports, initial reports that come out from the district attorney's office. They have to turn this over under the rules of evidence to the defense. But the fact that I love the fact that they've also turned it over under the Sunshine Act in Florida to the public, so they can take a look at this as well and see exactly what's going on in this case. It is not going to interfere with the court proceedings, because one of the questions that will be asked during voir dire when they're selecting the jury is they will be asked specifically, have you seen this document that was put out into the environment, for lack of a better term? And so they will weed out those jurors that have already seen this. That would probably be one of the very first things any real wise defense attorney would want to do. They'd want to get in there and immediately make sure that they had the voir dire questions and the questionnaire filled out appropriately, and that the potential jurors that come in for jury duty on this particular case are either selected or pushed out based on their general knowledge of this case. And they look for those jurors that say, no, never heard of it before, even though this has been out into the public. So that's one of the first things to keep in mind, that even though the prosecution has released this information, it's because they have to. Okay, that's the first thing. So this first sheet here is real simple. It is basically a charging document that is also laying out, these are the items that were given over to the defense. And the first thing we see here, obviously, is any autopsy photos, attorney work product, etc. These are all, and these bait numbers, what it says here, Bates 408, 450. Whenever the prosecution turns over an item to the defense, it's given what they call a Bates number at the bottom of the report. And each of those, it starts at 001 and it goes up from there. So as more discovery is given to the defense, then those Bates numbers are stamped on the bottom of each one of these forms. And that way they can refer during trial, Bates number 44 or 31 or whatever, etc. So there's no confusion. But in this particular initial, document dump. Here we get NCIC records, and NCIC is National Crime Information Center. So any information that they ran on this guy and or any type of, also this is FCIC, which is any financial information on him. So what we used to call this is run them around the world. So if you have a particular suspect that you're looking at and or a person of interest, you will run them around the world, and based on the information you get back from FCIC or NCIC, then you get a better idea of what you're dealing with. This one is interesting. Any clinical records, medical information, EMS records, forensic behavioral information, any evaluations, health evaluations, anything like that. Okay. Now, why this is interesting is they've probably went after Madeline's health records as well. So we're going to see what that's all about. And then, of course, if there was ever any informants involved in this, they have to, put out information that, reveal that. Any information, victims of sexual offenses and or child abuse, they have to reveal that. And then, of course, items sealed by the court, surveillance, security, camera footages, etc. So that's the very first document that is item number 1. So this is a disclosure of what we're going to start seeing as this case starts to unfold as we get into the 896 pages. So what the prosecution is saying here, we've got nothing to hide, Your Honor. Here's everything. And in fact, here's a short list of the items that you're going to start seeing. And this goes back into the Koberger case where the defense was given, terabytes and terabytes of data. That would have been checked off on a form like this, down here, telecommunications records, etc. Okay, just as an example. All right, and so now this one, the next one is just a supplemental report. But the reason I want to show you this is what this is. This is a consent to search form. So up here, you'll notice it says here 5670, location of offense, Hickory Tree Road, St. Cloud, Florida. Okay. And what this is, the owner of this property, okay, this person here gives consent, hereby following statement without threat, coercion, or offer or benefit or favor by any persons involved. And what are they giving consent to do? Okay. That they contract with the deputies who were conducting an investigation, gave them permission to go onto the property to do their, I think it said duty. Okay, so what the third form in here, they wanted the judge to know right away that they probably didn't have a search warrant right away, but they had information that led them to that property, which is right here, to this property right here, 5670 Hickory Tree Road. And this is probably the tree line where her body was discovered. And we saw some of that on the news. Okay. But the owner of this property, and actually it extends up to 75. So it's really up in this area as well. Okay. Where, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but it's up here in the upper left-hand corner. Okay. So the owner of this property, who owns these parcels, gave the police, i.e. the sheriff's department, initial consent to go in and search that property. Now, what we used to do is take a cadaver dog and run it on that, and that's probably how they hit. And then, of course, once you have that, and here's a other consent to search right here, you see it. Okay, so this owner is saying, hey, you can also search my parcel at 5675. Okay, the property, search my property. So this is a consent to search form. Okay, And from that point, if they discovered Madeline's body, which they did, they shut it down and immediately started to get a search warrant. And you'll see here that the crime scene, this is what they call a crime scene log, where they pulled in right away who was coming in, okay, and who was coming out. And there were a total of 17 people initially that came in, and the homicide guys got there at approximately 23:03. You see this guy down here, homicide. Forensics was on the scene at 6 o'clock in the evening. The first officer's on the scene at 4:28 in the evening. So this started at 4:28 in the afternoon, and it looks like they secured it the next day at 6 o'clock. And, we have to go through this a little bit deeper, but it gives you an idea of, who started to show up. Homicide showed up, et cetera, the team. But what I'm seeing here, and I feel very confident in saying this, I am seeing an investigation that is just tight. It is by the book. I mean, I've gone through these forms, and I'm thinking to myself, if I was a defense attorney, I don't know what they're going to argue other than, I don't know, sod some other dude, et cetera. But this is pretty solid from everything going on here. Now, the next form we get to, and we're already at page 6, this is just a CAD printout. This is a computer-aided dispatch printout. That's what it's called. And what that is dispatch, when it was reported 17:08, which is 5:08 in the afternoon. And, then they start knocking it down. Who were the officers that responded? And you see the responding officers, all of these individuals. And this officer here, Swan, you'll notice will correlate up here. Swan. And this is one of the officers that started right away this crime scene log. So almost instantaneously, they started knocking down, the right things, the right proper procedures. And one interesting thing about this what we would call a body dump, okay? And in a body dump, and you'll see here, down here, these are the Bates numbers. See this 00004, but you'll notice the next form, it goes to 5, 00005. So this is what they'll be referring to in court. And this one here, I'm assuming is going to be 6. And there it is. Yes, it is. Okay. But immediately, what the first responding officers are supposed to do, okay, that once they get on scene in a body dump and they identify where the body is, the next thing they have to do is identify inbound, outbound paths, egress. Okay? Because my experience has showed me whenever we would get on scene and that patrol officer says, hey, Mac, this is the way we went in, this is the way we came out. Now okay, that there is no deviation in relationship to coming off of that path. You're going to stay on that path and you're going to go in and you're going to see what you need to see, and then you're going to come out, but you're going to follow that one path. And because I'm seeing this crime scene log almost instantaneously, I just have so much confidence in this agency and these deputies who pulled this off that day. And this is the crime scene, okay? So her name is down here because they probably had to notify her. And if she is on here, right here, this forensics, well, it looks like she's she may had to come in and identify something. Okay, not the body or the victim, but maybe there was an item of evidence that they picked up. I'm not sure what this is going on, but she may have also be just a forensic part of the forensics team. It looks like she probably is a sheriff. I'm not seeing an ID, But that would be interesting if she is related in some way or another, wouldn't it be? That's interesting. And thank you for pointing that out. I don't know who pointed that out. I just saw it in the chat. Thanks for pointing that out. Okay, so I want to keep moving here. And so far, right from the get-go, these guys are by the book. And now this is, just CAD information, computer-aided dispatch information that was coming in. And you'll see these Bates numbers, they change pretty consistently. This is a supplemental report from this particular deputy. He was asked to go down there, and what he probably started the crime scene log. I provided scene security on this ongoing investigation. So he made contact with the landowner and got the consent to search form right here, because that's what he says. Okay. This is a crime scene analyst who obviously came on scene, started talking to people, started to navigate how this whole investigation was going to go down. They created a crime scene command post. You'll see down here in the last paragraph. And what happens in a situation like that, we used to call it circling up, where everybody gets together. You establish, do you need, how long are we going to be out here? Do we need, forensic van? Do we need a bus? Do we need a crime scene command post, i.e., trailers? Our department has had a huge bus that we would pull out. And so in this particular situation, it's obvious that they created this command post. And what's really good about that is you can start feeding information into this centralized location. And ours used to be staffed by a evidence technician supervisor as well as a dispatcher. So she or he would have direct contact with the main dispatch, but they also had, if they had separate channels to the guys and gals working out on this, event here, this crime scene that was shut down, they would have direct communication back into the van. And so this was, everything here is just, it's just happening here, right? It's just perfect. It really is. They pulled up the satellite views, they started to navigate the maps, and they started looking very carefully because they knew the totality of this one was going to be a child. And I can tell you, when I've walked out of crime scenes with children, and those of you who have seen my Brandon Wilson situation, when I came out of that bathroom, there were literally, I have to say, there had to be at least 13 satellite trucks back then. And that was, how communications would get. But being in the San Diego media market, we also had the LA and the Orange County media market right with us. So it would just explode as a media market. So now we get into a report written by Sergeant Swan, who starts looking at as a possible suspect involved, received information. And so that they got information from somebody that somebody witnessed that there was somebody, in the area changing a tire. Okay. And so immediately they were on to something. And this is why, and I'm going to show you here in a couple of minutes, that the information that they pulled right away from Stearns was tactical in terms of how they did it and why they did it. And on the witness box, I talked about, everybody was saying, well, this is the first interview. And no, that was not the first interview. And I said that on our podcast. That was the second interview. The first interview was the one we saw the other night at the insurance office. And the second interview was the detective that pulled him aside and said, "Hey, let's talk about this." But what's going on here, this Sergeant Swan, okay, he's now that they have the consent to search, this is his report about how they walked onto that property. Okay. And they get the consent, and he says, "I entered the property on the west side of Hickory Tree Road." Remember the path that I just talked about. "We walked to the north for a few minutes near around hay bales covered in plastic. Then we went to the left, south side of the gate, where there is a long line of tall bamboo trees. Captain Mingyon noticed just a few feet into the bamboo tree line what appeared to be blue jeans. As we got closer, we noticed what appeared to be a body. The top half of the body was covered with a green-colored hooded sweatshirt, and the bottom half was covered with blue jeans." So immediately they notice her, and they notice that she's dressed. The body was laying on the left side in somewhat of a fetal position. It appeared that the body was covered by pieces of hay or dry grass, and based on my training and experience, it was apparent this was a human body. I did not see any signs of life, and I could clearly see flies covering the body. Now, this is so sad to read this, especially on Father's Day, but what a horrific stepfather this dirtbag is. That said, it was apparent that this was a human body. I didn't see any signs of life. I walked out of the gate and used crime scene tape to secure the scene. And then he talks about, Chris Johnson responded to assist, and a crime scene log was started. So they get in there and they find her. And immediately they shut it down. And so all of these next forms that you're going to see here, this is going to kick in who's going to respond even further to this crime scene. And this is also CAD information that's going to come in. So you'll see here call detail reports. So this captain gets on scene, the sergeant's on scene, and they start notifying everybody. And this is where all of these other names start coming in here. And you see here, assisting, on site, arrived. All of this is what they call a CAD. So these are this officer en route. Okay? This Weatherston was en route. He arrives at 1716. Koch was, en route, arrival en route. Okay. And all of these individuals start responding based on this discovery of Madeline. And at that time, they don't have her yet, right? They don't know. And it looks like Jen Soto is an employee. This is not, the mom or anything like that. So she's en route. So all this is everybody on the radio saying, like this guy here, this officer, Scott, I'm about 15 minutes out. Do you need me to expedite? As right now, I'm 54, meaning everything's copacetic. That's what 54 is, i.e. he's calm. This person was probably near. They call the chaplain, okay, to start responding because still, again, they did not know everything that they had yet. And so everybody starts getting there. And that's all this is, and we're already into 16 pages of this 896 pages. And so all of this gabbledygook here, it's like reading an attorney's report. All this is dispatchers just cutting the information short and making a record of everybody getting there and what time they were en route, what time they arrived, et cetera. And these are just short notes. Okay. This one here, also the ME's office was notified right away because this is who responded from the ME's office, A. Aurora. So you get through all of this so everybody knows what we're doing here. These are all the responding officers that they put into this. He is TR 12, which is the ME down there. Okay. I'm assuming Yamori's probably going to be a doctor. Let's see, Aurora could be an ME investigator. Okay, so now they've opened up a whole new can of worms here on this one. And so now we're going to get into signatures of affidavit, and these are all sealed. Okay. But now we get over here and we start seeing this is what we would call an evidence log. Okay. So we know they pulled up a tire fragment from marker 1, i.e. they probably did a cast mold. A tire fragment from marker 2. And of course, number 3 is scene photographs. The chain of custody is clear. Okay. Jennifer Soto, was responsible for these 3 evidence items that go in. This is really cool. Remember, we always talk about the FARO, and I question why immediately they didn't shoot the FARO at Koberger's house, that the FBI had to come back later and they shot an exterior FARO. But these guys knew it was an outside scene and immediately, pulled that device out. And what it is, it sits up on a tripod. It's like a square box. It has this laser on it that spins in 360, and it takes, photographs. It takes 3D imaging of the entire, it's scanning the entire area. And if you want something really interesting to learn about, type in that FARO, F-A-R-O, and it's really, really cool. It looks like by the way, you can also FARO tire tracks and tires. This device is very, very important, but it is not the catch-all for everything. Okay. It's only the beginning of evidence collection. You need photographs, you need measurements. Sometimes, like I've said in the past, jurors want to go out and smell, see, feel what it's like to be at that area. Okay. Okay, so that's the FARO. Major case prints collected from, looks like they've blocked that out, so we don't know what that is, but they've pulled prints off of it. Okay, this is another affidavit that was submitted to the court. It's sealed, and that's why we're not seeing it. This is also just an incident report. This is a supplemental. But this one's really interesting because this is the initial officer responding. And when they get up there, they start, locking him down. And I mean, they absolutely locked him down pretty clear. Okay. So now we get into investigative details. At February 27, 24 at 1600, 4 o'clock, I, Detective M. Tagler, was notified of a missing person, and I was responding to assist with canvassing. And so he arrives there. He speaks with Stephen Stearns and Detective L. Acosta. Now, these are the 2 detectives that you hear the audio interview with Mr. Stearns. And this is their report. Okay. He talks about, remember on the thing, he says, yeah, I went up there, I turned around by the McDonald's, and we went over this in the last case, but this is now the written report that correlates with that audio. Okay. And what's interesting about this, of course, is they're locking him into letting him lie. Okay. Just letting him lie. And, remember he says, he turns around and watched her in the rearview mirror and, rummaged through her backpack as she walked to the direction of the school. Now, I always find it fascinating that we can see this guy and he's as cool as a cucumber. I mean, you can see some, some problems with his body language, etc. But this guy has dumped a 13-year-old child. He had been molesting her for who knows how long. We don't know the totality of that just yet. And he's got to get his story together. So here he is right off the bat, just kind of either he's shooting from the hip or he's, laying this very clearly from the night before, because we now have information that he went over to a Holiday Inn and stayed there, or at least got a room. And that's probably where he cleaned up. But this guy was right on, and you'll see Bates number 71. He was right on target. Okay, so now we get into page 29 and 30, and his statements to the cops of the day, was allegedly that he drove around. But all the other statements, as you know, were total lies. Okay. And he said he gave Maddie a cheese Danish and pastry. Remember all of that stuff, guys? And in this page, starting at page 30, they let him lock himself deep into this particular problem here. They lock him in. Okay. I'm going to get down here. We go to, go places. I use my maps, my GPS, search addresses, etc. And all of this is on that tape that we covered. Okay. But now this is the correlating information. Okay. Mom Stearns never went looking for Maddie the night she was reported missing, at 6:53, 11 hours later. He took Ativan for, anxiety attacks. Maddie called him her bonus dad, according to Stearns. Okay. And, he mentioned, she likes to sing, or reminds him of a movie, Sister Act, which is, absolutely bizarre. But this guy is not missing a beat. And, we see Mom in those first videos kind of swaying and stuff. And there's some information in these documents that, unfortunately, really put Mom into the spotlight as well. Not saying that she's, part of the homicide or anything like that, but I think they were kind of on the fence with her, but they need her more with him than, pushing her to the next level, potentially as an accessory after the fact or something to that effect. Because, the fact that, they're not out there searching for her, and it's almost like 11 hours later that they report her. But here is the most interesting thing. So at approximately 20:38, one of them, okay, there's a canine that responds, and we see that with negative results. But at this time, Detective Costa and I respond to the front entrance of the complex, make contact with security in reference to video surveillance. Detective Costa and I review the surveillance showing both the front and rear entrance of the complex, which exited onto Dyer Boulevard. In the surveillance footage, I observed a male wearing a red shirt leaving the complex in a 2010 silver Lincoln MKZ. Why is this important? Because the first video we see of him, he is wearing a blue shirt. So that means somewhere there is a red shirt. And it also tells us that this video is in color. It is not black and white CCTV. Okay? This is really good stuff. It's really good stuff. Okay? Through the rear gate at 0750, meaning at 7:50 in the morning, he sees this car going through. The driver's wearing a red shirt. And they also see, and there are two detectives witnessing this, a female wearing a green sweater in the front seat. Why is that significant? Because obviously, when they find her, they find her clothing. Wearing a red shirt, enter the complex, in the front seat. This person appears to be sitting upright with her head slumped over to the left side. So like this and like this. Okay. At 08:19. So at 10 to 8, so that's 29 minutes later, I observe a male wearing a red shirt enter the complex through the front gate in a silver Lincoln with someone in the front passenger seat wearing a green sweater and once again slumped over. He doesn't say which direction. At 08:31 hours, the male wearing a red shirt left the complex in the silver Lincoln through the rear gate with a female. Now they know it's a female. And the front passengers completely slumped over to the left. So you're getting this person slumped over to the left. So they see this person in the car, i.e., they see Stearns, and they also see Maddie in the car. This is why the authorities later put out they believe that Madeline was deceased. Now, why that's important is this guy drove around with her for quite some time. Okay. And mom, I believe, if I remember right, says that he wakes up at about 8:15. Well, in this report here, we know that he comes back to the apartment complex at 8:19. Okay. So my question is, what's he doing back at the house with deceased Madeline? So we know that that car is a crime scene now, potentially. That could be the main one, where if this is a strangulation, which it sounds like it is, then if this is the main crime scene, then they're going to take this car, obviously, and they're going to, process the you-know-what out of it. Okay? And because there's going to be a tremendous amount of evidence, because if this guy's driving around for a couple of hours with that poor child and the deceased in that car, there's going to be evidence in that car from her body. So let's see here. This Detective Tagler is assigned at this point after reviewing the surveillance footage. Okay, the Orange County Violent Crime Unit, which is where I was in COV. Crimes of violence is what we call it, homicide, crimes of violence, COV. Some agencies call it homicide, robbery, homicide. We call it COV. And anyway, so this guy, here's your case agent, Detective Tagler. So his role now, after watching this, goes, okay, I'm the supervisor says, let's circle up. Okay, Tagler, you're primary on this thing. The second one is Detective Costas, so you're second. And then, of course, the rest of the team. So he's going to pull this case. That's what we call it. We pull this case. And in the homicide unit, we have a board. And it says the victim's name. It says a possible suspect. And then, the case number, the date of the incident, and then, some other things. And at the very end, it says arrest. Okay. And if ours used to be in different color, markers. If it was red, that means they're in custody. If it was green, it means it's open. If it's blue, it means we're getting close. Okay. I introduced myself and informed her I was going to be the lead detective. So this is where he goes out and he starts talking to mom, or they talk to mom. And they start pinning her down. Okay. Is it normal for Stefan to sleep in the same room where she sometimes would, send them upstairs when she needed a really good night's sleep. So mom is pushing, them upstairs to go sleep. And in this particular part of the document, it's pretty sad, to be honest with you, because she starts talking about, Maddie being on the spectrum, some of Stephen's, habit forming, way he does things off to school, that she got a phone call from him around 10:18 to let her know he had not gone to McDonald's as planned. And so this guy is kind of pulling her into the play here. So I think initially, and we don't know what that evidence is going to be yet, but I think if we just use common sense, when they got into the car to take her to school that morning, something happened in that car to get into this where she's no longer with us. So what she believes, sometime between 8 and 8:15, because Stephen had gone into the room to put the leash on the dog. She got up to assist Stephen. I don't even know what the heck we want to call this dude. With placing the leash on the dog, because not wanting to pee on the bed. As far as she knew, she was in the kitchen. They were getting ready, and then they go out. And I asked if she had heard. She stated she heard people in the kitchen. She's not sure specifically. Anyway, they leave the house. They get out in the house and they get into that car. Okay. I think at that point, something goes down almost immediately. There's a fight. My sweetheart Karen was like, well, what if she got in the car and, told him that, I hadn't had that time of the month, or I'm pregnant or whatever. And he freaks out. And, would it be unusual? Because if this is a strangulation, then it's a manual strangulation, primarily probably with his hands. And I have to tell you, it takes a lot of pressure to, take somebody's life. But I think in that car is when it all started. And that's why they're seeing him drive around with her in that vehicle. And that's a great point too. Mark brings up, did he use the strangler with a dog leash? Okay, interesting. Well, either way, something somewhere is going to go down, and we'll find out about it in more reports. If she dies in the house, that's going to be a much more difficult thing, because now they have to bring her out to the car. And if they have CCTV like this, they're going to have somebody, because there are other people staying at that house as well. Okay. They find one, croc shoe in her home. Yes. But that doesn't mean that's where the altercation took place. Okay. He could have brought that back and planted it into the house, because he knew exactly what type of clothing she was wearing and what kind of shoes she had on. That could just be a red herring, but we don't know, right? It could be possible. I don't know why would they kill her in the house? Who knows, right? You never know what that evidence is going to show. But the problem that they're going to have is, if they killed her in the house, and let's say it was earlier in the morning, why are you bringing her out and put her in the car in the morning in daylight? Typically that other stuff happens, pretty rapidly. Chris Watts was a good example of that, where he backed the truck up to the garage, and, he rolled everybody out and put them in the back of his truck, and then eventually went and dumped them. But anything's possible. I'll never say never. Hang on for a minute. Okay, so let me grab some of your comments over here. Okay, is everybody okay so far? We're making good progress on this. We're already at page 33. Okay, this is a regular incident report here, and obviously on this one, he's cruising around a little bit, from 0840 to 1000 hours, i.e., 940. So for an hour and 20 minutes, he has this deceased Madeline in the car, and she's not with us. And so he's driving around, okay, and he's got this body with him. And so now he gives up all kinds of the excuses in this particular point. He's trying to find a little empathy for him, which is pretty typical. I went to the, smoke shop. He starts changing his direction of travel. All of the stuff that we heard, on his initial layout of his alibi. So she maintains visual contact of the car and to make sure, chain of custody, that it was towed away correctly, and it was sent to the sheriff's operations center. And the reason for that is it's going to be processed. They have a whole evidence facility there. I'm assuming we had a huge warehouse that the cars would come in and they'd back them up, and it's secured and chained, and all of our evidence folks would go. I love this part here with Detective Acosta. She grabs his cell phone, and he's like, well, and she's, well, guess what? You're not getting it back. And then she later turned it over to the Office of Digital Forensics, i.e., they're going to go process that vehicle or that phone and look for digital footprints, which they did. And of course, they came up with all of the information in relationship to the essay that this poor little child was going through. So they also look into, where was this car seen? They spot it somewhere around US 192 with the district. So they get immediately in the morning, they successfully downloaded digital forensics from digital forensics. They download SA, child sexual abuse, on Stefan's phone. During a review of the pictures, we observe images that contain so-and-so performing so-and-so. This is just horrible. I'm not even going to go into this. She was just brutally victimized here. I'm not going to read that. Let's see. So, but they got this guy. They got him. Okay. They absolutely have him. And now, the next question is, okay, where is she? So they get this stuff back right away. Okay. And it says, prior to finishing the interview, I was advised that VCS, Violent Crime Squad, had canvassed the areas for video surveillance, and they located a video of Stefan discarding something in the trash compactor located in his apartment complex at 0735. So he's dumping things at 7:30 in the morning. In this video, they observed a female wearing a green sweater in the front passenger seat of the vehicle. So she's already in the car. The female appeared to be completely slumped over and with her mouth ajar. So it looks like she is not with us. At the time, Detective Balearis established custody of the trash compactor until Waste Management arrived for the regularly scheduled pickup, meaning they secured that instantly. Okay. Blah, 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 made contact with the Waste Management Director, who provided a separate area for the compactor to be emptied. Antonio was providing an approximate date and time that Stefan Stearns was seen throwing a tire into the compactor. Based on that information, Antonio was able to provide an approximate location where the tire would be located in the contents of the compactor. The Orange County Sheriff Forensics Unit respondent was able to locate the intact tread of a tire which they advise matched the tread pattern of the rear passenger tire of Stefan's vehicle. Remember, out in the crime scene, they also have tire tread. The crime scene investigators located a white trash bag that contained a black backpack with what appeared to be a purple Hawaiian print and white crock, and a white crock, a singular, inside the backpack. CSIs located, crime scene investigators located an Orange County Public School computer with her name on it. Based on this information, it was determined the backpack and its contents belonged to Madeline. The forensic unit collected the tire, backpack, and crock. Upon reviewing the evidence, it was determined the Kissimmee Police Department would be taking the lead, and this case was subsequently turned over. The Orange County Sheriff's Department office remained active in support role. Now, why would that happen? Probably you may be asking. Because that's where the body is. Okay. And the Orange County SO, okay, they have the crime, they have part of the crime scene, but now they're like, okay, where's the body? And some agencies want to just maintain, a fluid flow. Other agencies say, well, you know what, we've got the body over here. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and take primary on this? And the DAs hash it out, the agency hashes it out. But when you're in a larger agency like this and Orlando and that area, there's a lot of volume. Okay, like LA, like San Diego, Houston, Jacksonville, et cetera, Miami. There's a lot of volume, New York. And so there's really not a lot of ego that gets involved in it. And because what they're looking for is justice in relationship to this child. Okay. And so after looking at this, let's see, upon receiving the evidence, blah, 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 support role, Detective Corporal Morrison and Iljan conducted a video and audio recording sworn interview of Stefan at Central Operations. And then here's their police department number, 24-001-809. So that is another primary report number for this investigation. And so now you got two things happening here. You've got a forensic team, okay, from the Orange County Sheriff's Department processing evidence. And you have an investigative team, okay, from Kissimmee Police Department becoming primary agency. Okay. So now that first Tagler, who was the case agent for Orange County Sheriff's Department, he will, with his partner, Acosta, will oversee everything coming in from OCS SL. Okay. That individual will oversee all that evidence coming in. And then what they'll do is they'll turn that over to the forensics teams at Kissimmee through chain of custody and make sure that everything flows seamlessly from one agency to the next. So when that officer or that deputy or detective was from homicides put on the scene, or on the stand, and the defense says, isn't it true that, you started this? Yes, ma'am, or yes, sir. Okay. Well, why did you give it to, blah, 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 this agency? Well, at that time, we didn't have the body. They had the body over, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, what mistakes did you make? And it just goes on and on and on. The cops go on trial, right? Not unusual. Good defense work. But in this particular case, there are other underlining situations because here they get this guy, okay? They locate marks on his privates, which was consistent with pictures on his cell phone. And then they go and they see scars on his wrist. Okay, so they're looking through the photographs and they're trying to match his privates to that photograph. I love these guys. Absolutely love this agency. And I'm so grateful that they have these photographs because what they're doing is they're saying, okay, we got to pit this guy we gotta drop this guy into, no deposit, no return. You don't pass go and collect $200. And so what do? They pit him he was taken into custody for sexual battery and possession of material sexual performances by a child. And that's when they hooked him up for the very first time and put him into the pokey. Now, why is that important? Because what that did, and that happens, right, early, what that did is that gave them time to now work the homicide. Okay. And they went back to her, Jen, later on, the mom, and they said, "Hey, does this look familiar?" And she goes, "Yeah, that's him." Okay, well, bye-bye. No deposit, no return. Okay. And so now they know, okay, we got the bad guy off the street. Okay. And now we've got to really focus on justice for Madeline. And so this buys a whole bunch of time to make interviewing solid. And this is where investigators absolutely love, hooking somebody up at this time and pitting them in, put them away for a little bit here, just tuck them away, because now you can sit down with family members, friends, neighbors, do a lot more extensive, canvassing, because you've got various different scenes. If he's seen off of the side of the road, fixing a tire, that's one scene. You've got the body dump, that's a second scene. You've got the car, that's a third scene. You've got the dumpster, that's a fourth scene. You've got the potential, is there anything in the house? That's a fifth scene. So CSI and all the evidence folks, they're really going to go to work. They're going to do what they do and just kind of get into it and making sure that they're crossing the T's and dotting the I's. And the most interesting piece here is that, the parking garage. Thank you, Miss CC. Yeah, I'm sorry that there is a part in here where they find the parking garage video with him moving Maddie from the passenger seat to the trunk. Thank you so much for reminding me of that. Yeah, that's horrific. That's horrific in of itself. And that's why you had to get rid of the tire. There was just no room. And so thank you, Miss Cece. But anyway, what I was saying is now we're in a situation where, the CSI folks, I mean, the training today is just phenomenal, and one of my gals, and Cheryl, if you're listening here, I had a caper one time where there was there was a mess in the toilet. At the time we were laughing because, cops are just homicide cops and CSI folks are just some sick puppies. I mean, let's just focus on that. Right. And so anyway, I looked at her and I said, "Hey, I need to ask you a favor." And she's like, "What is it? What did you do?" I said, No. I didn't do anything. I just need you to go swab the toilet. And she just looked at me and she's like, "Are you nuts?" I said, No, I need the stuff out of there, just in case. And anyway, there's such a synergy of professionalism, and she didn't even hesitate. She just says, "Okay." And, she had to go do this crazy stuff. But this is time that's bought quickly for these folks. And it's absolutely imperative that we remember sometimes that the evidence folks, if they've got the proper training, will pull it off. If they don't, then that can really screw up a crime quickly. And if you'll notice here, what did they have? The car? Boom, that car was gone. I hate to say this. I've said this before. Don't beat me up in the chat. Don't beat me up in the comments. But, those cars were left out way too long in the Koberger case. Let's just be honest about it. Okay. They should have been all collected, photographed, measured, file, everything. And you work from the outside, go in to that crime scene. Everything outside is cleared. We move on to the next one. Okay. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. And I know that defense attorney is going to beat him up for it. Okay. So that said, in this situation, man, they're rock and rolling here. I mean, look at here. They're going up here, right here, turned out the above property from Everson, then proceeded to the parking garage. While in the parking garage, a male wearing a dark hat, red shirt, and tan pants exited the vehicle and opened the trunk. And this is what Ms. Cece was telling me. The male then walked to the front passenger side of the vehicle, opened the door, and proceeded to carry what appeared to be a limp body to the trunk of the vehicle. See Detective Jones's supplemental. So they see him on camera moving this victim, Madeline, her body, and putting it into the trunk. And he does this at the Holiday Inn Club vacation spot. Not good. Not good. Okay, so now let me get down here. Oh, yeah, page 32 or page 31, the video shows Stern driving out, but page 32 of this report, Mom allows Stearns to sleep in the upstairs bedroom with his daughter. All three would sleep in Mom's bed in her room. Mom says she awoke at 8 to 8:15. Stern returns around 8:19, as we described. Maddie's in the car, deceased. There are other people in the home as well as the dog. All were treated better than Maddie, if you ask me. Mom tells the cops a total different story than what is on the body camera video with the cops. Page 34 or 35, Horde, pictures of Maddie and Stearns on his phone. We talked about that. He's seen on the video throwing away the apartment complex. I'm just catching up. A TIR Maddie school laptop was inside of her bag, and one Croc shoe in a white trash bag. On the video at 9:40 a.m., the day Stern drives to the Holiday Inn Club vacation in Orlando. He parks, he moves Maddie's body from the front seat into the trunk where we are right now. And so this sicko drives around from 7:50 in the morning to 9:40 in the morning with her deceased body in the front seat of his car. And then he puts her in the trunk to go out and do the body dump. And then we also now get into what this information is. This is just, report supplemental stuff here. It's nothing. This is the tracking, the canine officer stuff. But we get into her condition in the house where her room was, right? There was a makeshift bedroom with a folding divider in the bed space between the kitchen and the dining room. And this is where that child had to sleep. Okay. And then sometimes Mom would say, go upstairs, make sure that you guys are sleeping together. I know there's a lot of opinions about that, and trust me, I have mixed emotions about that. It's horrific. But I think we're missing some serious information here in relationship to what they need. Do they need her more as a witness, and can they charge her and then turn her as a state's witness? I don't know yet. I mean, remember, the investigation's still ongoing, so they can still do other things that we're not aware of yet. They may have already been talking to her and say, hey, you know what, you're going to do A, B, C, and D, and you're going to testify E, F, and G, or else you're toast. And this right here This report here is, again, the supplemental. These are just really nothing here on these things here. This is just all CAD information coming out of individuals that responded, what they did. They did a search warrant at the residence. This is who did scene security at the residence. And because, again, the agency where she was kissing me wrote these search warrants, that's where all this stuff, as well as some other detectives from Orange County Sheriff's Office here, OCSO, that's what you see. And then cellular devices. Then what they did there is they dumped it in what they call Celebrite. You're familiar with that. We've talked about that many times, and that's just what they call a UFED device. And they take a phone just like this, okay, and there's a UFED device, and they plug it in, okay, and anything that's on here dumps within, probably an hour. Depends on how much volume the individual had. And if it's not there, then what they do is they'll start throwing search warrants onto the providers and seeing what's up in the cloud, because everybody that thinks that, the stuff goes away, you're confusing the reality of what can happen. Hey, trust me. So then this is a basic synopsis of the execution of the search warrants. Assisted search in the room of the second floor identifies room number 4. On the outside door inside the room, looking at a black backpack, which had one orange bottle of Low lotion in it. It's just crazy stuff. I'm not even going to read that. This guy is a sick puppy. Detective Tagler, detective via phone, via video call. They showed us digital photographs of Stearns abusing her. Purpose of view on the section. Now, they probably got the ICAC team involved. That's Internet Crimes Against Children. And that's who these guys may be. This detective, sorry. Let's see here. And what they're doing here is they're looking for clothing to match the photographs. So we examine the clothing worn by both, and along with surrounding items, sheets, bedroom blankets, articles of clothing. We were able to identify some of those items in the photographs in the downstairs area that was previously described as blah, 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 Madeline's room. So this guy's, again, they're crossing every T and dotting every I, and this is why they're taking their time here and why it was so important to have him locked up, because look, they're going down, they're looking at each photo and saying, okay, what was he wearing? What was she wearing? Okay, we got marks on his privates. Okay, let's knock this down. And that's really great police work. But again, you have to ask yourself, how is this all going down without mom saying, hey, wait a minute, what's going on here? What's going on here? I mean, I'm not saying she's culpable or there's some culpability, but on Father's Day, I'm saying, come on, what, there's more to this story than we know right now. And hopefully it will come out at some point. I'm sure it would. Let's see here. They finish the investigation, i.e. in the house. They move back to Stearns. He's wearing a red and white Deadpool shirt. Isn't that appropriate? Which was seen in multiple photographs where so-and-so was being abused. The collection conducted in a video recording. So what they do in this thing here is, they probably start dropping some of these photos on them. And you're saying, you want to explain this? Anything you want to say here? Oh, by the way, this is your phone. Oh, and by the way, we found these jackets. Because, what they can do is they can take digital photographs right away, send it to the investigator sitting in the interview room, and just say, hey, Stefan, yeah, just out of curiosity, anything you want to tell me about this photo? And bada boom, bada bing, home fries here is toast. Okay, let's put some toast up. Let's use the toast emoji here. Okay. And, they're getting this guy on, they're nailing him pretty good. So look at this one right here. Even the photo number is found on the album full of photographs of SA abuse. Now, what scares me about this is how much of this and did he put into other environments? How much was he on the dark web, and what was he selling on the dark web through these, pedophile rings out there? What's going on with that? Is that another piece of this? I would submit to you the answer is yes, at some point, because here they're going right down to JPEG numbers. Okay. And so now they're getting into, what are we on, page 47? The metadata, he starts denying some of it. They do search warrants on her Instagram account. And of course, Meta says, no, you can't have that. Are you serious? You serious? They do a search warrant on Facebook, and Facebook says, no, we're not giving you access to that information. Congress, you got to do something somewhere. Okay. The car is registered to his father, but it was used by Stefan, who's 37 years old, and he's driving his dad's car. He also secretly recorded his roommate at his apartment. That was found on his phone. Mom tells us that she's been with this guy for 7 years. And then they go out and they interview this employee or a coworker of his from Disneyland, where this guy used to work. Disney. And the questions are, tell us about, your guy here, your buddy. And this coworker says, well, I had a relationship with him and I became intimate in 2022 and I cut it off in May of 23 because he told me, he was separated from his girlfriend, but he was still staying at her apartment and he was sleeping in a bed with the girlfriend's 13-year-old daughter. And so when I heard that, I stopped, I cut the relationship off and I called the cops and reported this. Okay. And so, they collected the bedding and clothing from Maddie's makeshift non-bedroom in the living room floor and from the upstairs bedroom number 4 on the door where this child was forced to sleep by her mom with Stearns and where she was SA'd. Okay. And then another woman, along with other roommates, lived in the apartment with Maddie, her mom, and Stearns. Okay, so now I want to get up. I'm going to jump up to page, because most of this is just stuff that I've just been talking about here. Okay, I want to get up to 101. And we're going to call this Cinderella's Nightmare, seeing how we have a little theme thing here going from Disney. And this is all the stuff that they collected that we just covered and talked about. So I want to get up to page 101 real fast. Sorry, folks. Give me a second. They canvassed all these places here. See, no answer. That's all this is, canvas forms. So look how many apartments they went to. I mean, this is like pages and pages of canvassing here. Such good police work. Look at this. Residents not seen her. No answer at the door, 111, 118. Never seen her. Yeah, I seen her. Nothing, nothing can add. But I mean, what great police work this is. It's just fantastic. I mean, every T, every I was dotted from this. And this canvassing, these canvassing forms are just showing it here. Okay. And when they do get something, they stop, and they write a report about it. Okay. Let's see here. I want to get up to 101 real fast. You guys doing okay so far? We're an hour and 20 minutes into this. Okay, so I'm going to call this Cinderella's Nightmare because Karen said it was Cinderella's Nightmare. He allegedly throws away one right size 5 to 7 white crock that police recovered from the apartment complex trash. It matched Maddie's other left size 5'7" white crock in the home. Okay. Now, it doesn't, there could be an argument starting. Okay. There could be an argument starting in the residence. You know, a fight of, you know, let's go, blah, blah, blah. We don't know. That's a hypothesis. We do know she's in the car. He somehow makes it to the car. And there's evidence, video evidence, that shows that she's deceased. Okay. And so here we got the forensics team goes in, they're removing all the clothing. They're talking about the downtown, you know, or the downstairs divided sleeping area, the living room. And they go up, you know, they start collecting things. And here at 1719, forensic manager Vanessa Nylander called me and notified me that they located some of Madeline's belongings in the trash, including a single white crock. Okay. CSI Jenkins recalled seeing Crocs in the downstairs bedroom. I re-entered the residence and looked in the downstairs bedroom for white Crocs. I located 3 white Croc shoes near the window. 1 pair of women's size 8, a single left shoe size 5 to 7, which matched the right size 5'7", located in the trash. I took photographs of the shoes, packaged the shoe, and later turned it over as well. So here's the question, right? 1 pair, a single left shoe, 5 to 7. They find a single Croc in the trash, a single left shoe, and then there was a single right shoe that matched. So they have a left and a right. They may be the same. And that's why I remember we were talking about, you know, the Crocs, that we don't want to get caught up in that yet because there's a lot more to this that we just don't know yet. Okay? We don't know yet. So Maddie's best friend was interviewed, and the girl said Maddie didn't get along with her mom. And if she ever ran away, she would run into the woods and find a place to stay. Isn't that just, I mean, this is Cinderella. You know, it's a Cinderella's nightmare. It's just so scary that this poor child was getting all of this abuse. And, you know, her girlfriend, Maddie's girlfriend, is telling her that she wanted to go to the woods. And Maddie's mom told her she was going to kick her out of the house and disown her when she turned 18 or 19. Maddie texted her best friend every morning. When she didn't get a text that morning of February 26, she thought it was odd. And on page 107, they've known each other since 4th grade. And she was always either contacting or texting with Stearns, Maddie was, who was controlling her. Her 4th grade friend knew about the essay. Maddie's mom or grandparents usually took her to school, never Stearns. This comes from the girlfriend. Look at this. They've known each other since 4th grade. She was very close, blah, blah, blah. and it never told her anything about running away other than if she did, she would run away to the woods and find a place to stay. Blank told her she didn't get along with her mom. She heard from other friends that Blank's mom told her she was going to kick her out of the house and disown her when she turned 18 or 19. Wow. And what's really crazy when we think about her birthday, the last picture taken of her 13th birthday, and then we hear mom going through the photographs in front of the cops. Well, I wasn't there. Man. We called her every Monday morning, 26th. There was no, on the morning of February 26th, there was no answer from her friend. Blank further stated, only mentioned her biological father briefly, but she was always on a call with her stepdad, Stefan. Stefan and Blank were always texting each other or talking on the phone. Blank loved him and they were really close. This is her projection. This is Stefan's projection onto Maddie, onto the girlfriend. And let me tell you something about 13, 14-year-olds today, because I have a case right now. I can't talk about it in depth. Excuse me. Moms, dad, grandparents. This device and a TikTok account are really interesting. The kids, let's say somebody says something negative about a friend, okay? And then that friend hears about it. Well, what they do is they find a song that has lyrics about the potential argument, okay? And what they do is they lip sync to that song. I'll give you an example. I understand, you are a bee, blah, blah, blah. And they video it. They attach the lip sync to that song and they send it to the friend or to the enemy. That enemy then responds in another TikTok video with another song. And so they're never having communication with each other. They're not talking to each other. They're talking through this, digital format, and they think they're communicating. Okay? And I would submit to you that these kids, it's really very consistent, very consistent. So if your child has a TikTok and they're still under your roof and they're 14, 13, 15, whatever, you may want to, see what's going on with that and sit down with them and say, hey, explain how this stuff works. Help us understand. Because I literally about a week ago spent 8 hours going through a 14-year-old's TikTok account. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. I came home and told Karen, from work, I said, this stuff is nuts. This is crazy. And so here you see that this suspect, though, this groomer and this very, I don't even know what to call him right now because I don't want to get in trouble. But he is controlling her every move. And there just seems to be a window of denial here of what's going on here. There are roommates that also live in the house with their mother. She believes it is people who are close to the family but don't have enough money to live on their own. The last time she talked to Maddie was on Sunday, February 25th, 2024, at her birthday party. The party took place at her grandparents' home. Neither Blank's mom, neither Maddie's mom nor her mom's boyfriend were in attendance at the birthday party. It was also common for Maddie to talk about getting money for her birthday. Blank got mad at Blank for not giving her any money for her birthday. I'm assuming she's going to say Maddie got mad at mom for not giving her money for her birthday, but we don't know that. But this mom is in the conversation here, and that's a very short 3 letters that you could have blanked out. and complained she didn't get enough money for her birthday. Blank left the party at approximately 1900 hours and did not verbally speak with blank again, and stated she does not miss school often but is sick a lot. Now, is that a trigger? Is that a trigger that could have put some of this stuff into motion? Remember, from a behavioral analysis aspect, you want to look at a victimology and you want to find out, okay, what kind of event could have triggered this situation? Could this be that trigger right in front of us? Because it looks like there was an argument and she was upset. I don't know. She believes he's close to her sister. She had planned on showing her face on a YouTube account once she reached 200 subscribers. So Maddie has a YouTube account somewhere out there. I don't know where it's at, but I'm not going to go find it, to be honest with you. Rest in peace. Let's see, her text messages, application, I have a boyfriend, but a crush named so-and-so. And so this little girl was just going through just what all little girls go through, except she is a victim of severe SA, and that this animal is, has done this, to her is just it's just incomprehensible. She didn't have a chance. And the complacency of those around her, it's just horrible. It's just horrible. So Maddie's grandparents have that birthday. She dreamed of running into the woods, running away when she turns 13, and she was going to leave the house and never come back. She has a sister whose father lives in Washington, D.C., that she often talks to. She talks to different random people through Roblox, an online gaming platform. So she's living a secondary life. She has a YouTube account where she posts videos of her dancing with her face covered. She said Maddie took medication for ADHD and possibly some other disorders. Maddie told the school counselors Steve Stearns was weird and made her feel uncomfortable. Okay, we're up to 109. Let's take some of your comments here. Thank you. And I'm going to pick up page 110 next. Let's see, I would like your thoughts on her involvement. The home seems Benghazi, in my opinion. Yeah, I love that Italian, DR. Well, my again, I think I've expressed, some of the feelings of, is she complacent? That's obvious, right? And, is there more going on? Yes, absolutely. There is much more going on here. And, but what's going on behind the scenes for me right now, in my thought, is there enough, child neglect? Yeah, it seems like, they could make a pretty good case, but when we start getting into, that lane and you're looking at a death penalty, first degree murder, at what point do you want to put her on the stand if she's in custody and a jury looks at her and says, oh, well, et cetera. Now, if they get a linkage in terms of physical evidence that they connect her, then yeah, she's going down. Okay. But at this point, I don't think they have. Good evening, everyone. I'm glad to become a member. I love the internet. I rarely catch a live, but I'm part of the replay crew. Thanks, Chris, for always bringing us facts with compassion. Thank you, Renee. So grateful for you. So that's pretty heavy, everybody. Would you agree? That's a lot going on. We sure, we've got to remember these children. I mean, Summer Wells, 5 years old, still missing, 3 years. We saw a press conference, or at least a statement from TBI, Would have loved to hear from Hawkins County why they deferred to TBI. I don't know. But what has TBI said? Well, we don't have evidence that she didn't walk away or it was an abduction. Okay. Well, okay. Took you 3 years to say that. There's that one just doesn't make sense. I mean, I'm here to tell you that there was not a total stranger that walked up on the property up there. That's just my opinion. I've been doing this a couple of weekends. Seth Rogers, another one. Don't leave the house. There's a lot more going on there. Not sure what the totality of that is. There was just a shooting in Michigan where 8 children were shot. That's interesting. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. And of course, poor Audrey Cunningham. That savage is in jail. And he's going to go down for the count. All right. So we're an hour and 40 minutes into this. We're going to do part 2 coming up over the next couple of days. So follow along with us if you wouldn't mind on that. We'd love to have you here on that stuff as we continue to go through the 896 pages from a homicide investigator's perspective. We love you all. Thank you so much for being here. And I just hope you have you've had an amazing Father's Day, and that you've been able to be with family and give those that you love a huge hug. And I mentioned the other day that I've been battling, a little of the skin cancer stuff, but I'm good to go. Not any problems. I've got one more surgery. And, Karen was so funny because they wanted to do a whole bunch of stuff. And I was like, well, let's go and see what we can get out. And the surgery that I had was very successful. And they're very confident that it had not got into my bones, which was a huge blessing. And they gave me, these kind of thumbs. And I thought, okay, I'm good to go. Let's go. You can't stop the Irish. I mean, look at this. Okay. It takes a lot. And we're not going anywhere, everybody. The interview room is fast and furious, and we're staying the course. So God bless each and every one of you again. Let's go to Hawaii, and I'll see you on the next program. Aloha. Mahalo.
Hard working every day, I'm stressed out 24/7, babe. No timeouts. Wish we could fly away. You and I go to our favorite place. Oh yeah. Make special memories together. I'll be your company now and forever. I say we fly away. You and me go to our favorite place. Feeling the sun on my face in Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. I need a summer breeze, some fresh air to put my mind at ease. No cares. You wanna come with me? Me and you go to our favorite tree. Are you ready now? We jump on a plane now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. Don't hesitate now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. We'll never come down. We're going away. Yeah, we're going away. You and me. Feeling the sun on my face in a while.